Alright, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be laying out the Storm Revenant and the Storm Absolute. Now the first thing you have to do with any layout is you have to start with the ball and figure out your axis point. Now, I'm going to put up a video here, and in this you can kind of see what your axis point is. It's the exact spot on the ball where it rotates as you release. It's best to do this with a plastic ball, spare ball, something that doesn't hook or flare so that you can more accurately watch it go down the lane and make sure that you're centered on that dot. You'll see a few examples here. Now you kind of move that piece of tape around and that will help you locate your pap, and you kind of experiment if you don't have an armadillo or a tool to use. Then what you do is, to give you a head start, if you have flare lines that go across the ball this way, over where a thumb would be for a normal one-hander, that means your axis point is going to be over and up. And if your flare lines go this way, the opposite way of where a thumb would be, towards the left, if you're looking at your fingers, that means your axis point is going to be over and down, most likely. Everyone's different, but 99% of the time that's how it'll work. So, as you can see in the video, I've got the piece of tape centered on the ball when I release it, so that is my axis point. Now what we have to do is we got to go back and measure it to figure out what my axis point actually is. This is a Prosect and a regular wax pencil. We can center here and get the center of grip. The center of grip is just a line that directly dissects your two finger holes up and down. Then perpendicular to that, which is going to be 90 degrees, line the Prosect up this way, and this will give us the midline. And for right-handers, obviously you're going to go that direction. Everything will be reversed for left-handers. I'm going to draw it both ways. So this is the pin here. You can see I've got my center grip, and this is the midline. Now, I know, so based on where the tape is, that this is going to be my axis point. Now with the spine of the Prosect on the midline at the 0, I'm going to come down here, and we're just going to keep coming until this gets to the center of our tape. Double check your alignment, get the 0 on the midline, and now we're going to draw the vertical axis line. Center line, midline, vertical axis line. This is perpendicular, so perfect 90 degrees. Same thing here, 90 degrees. Now we just have to measure it. So, dead center of the bridge for two-handers, no thumbers. And just measure this out over here. So I am 5.5 over. And then again, making sure that this is lined up perpendicular. Get it on the line. Yep, 1.5 inches up. So when you look at the axis point, 5.5 over, 1.5 up, gets us pretty much dead center of that tape. Now, once you have your axis point, you can kind of mush this out of the way. And now you pick your layout that you want to transfer onto your next ball. I'm going to start with the Absolute here. This is a pretty strong core, weak cover. So this one's got pin, center of gravity, and the PSA or the mass bias, preferred spin axis here. So now that we have our axis point measured and we can find it, what you're going to do is pretty much reverse those and orient your axis point from each of the pin and the mass bias to design the layout you want. Now for me, on this Storm Absolute, I'm going to put a short pin layout on it. This is Storm's number 2 layout in the 2LS system. So for me, that's 2 inches pin to pap, 6 inches mass bias to pap, and then a 5-inch pin to center grip. I'm going to go through this just nice and slow. This is the Storm arc ruler. Now I put this dead center of the pin. I'm going to make an arc at 2 inches. And you can see there, pretty much just draws a perfect circle around at the distance you pick. Each one of these holes is a different distance. So this is 2 inches It's pretty close. Now, that means our access point is going to end up somewhere on this circle. Now, we've dictated that no matter what, this will be 2 inches away from the pin. So, we draw our second arc, which will give us the intersection point where this arc hits this one. Now, for the PSA to PAP, we're going to go 6 inches. Now, this one's very simple here. So that is the 6-inch arc. So 2-inch arc from the pin, 6-inch arc from the mass bias, and where they intersect is going to be your axis point. Now that we have the axis point, what you get to decide next is what you want your pin to center of grip to be. The center of grip is the dead center between your two fingers. For this layout, Storms number 2, they have it set up for 5 inches. So from the pin, we're going to draw a second arc 5 inches away. Now this is our axis point, and somewhere on this line is going to be our fingers. We're not sure where yet until we get the next lines. Storm has a system, I'll pull it up on the screen here, for two-handers, 2LS system. This is the lightning arc. Now for me, because my axis point is 5.5 over, 1.5 inches up, that means my lightning arc is 5 inches, 5/8. So from this one, you're going to start from your axis point, 5 5/8. We're going to draw an arc. Okay. So now, where these two intersect, we've got two intersections. This is the axis point. This is our center of grip. So we know that our finger is going to go here in some orientation. There will be one more mark so we know whether, the center is up, down, left, right, whatever it is. In order to get this last final orientation for our center of grip, you reverse your axis point just like you would for a one-hander, and then draw out the vertical axis line. So we're going to start from the positive axis point, and because mine is 1.5 inches up, to reverse that we go 1.5 inches down. I'll show why that is in just a second. Let me draw the arc for you. All right, so the reason this goes down is because technically our midline is going to be this way. I'll draw it out for you, and then up. So let me draw it, it'll make more sense. To draw this final line, you're going to make a line that's tangent to this arc that we just drew, the 1.5 inches down. What tangent means is basically it just touches this circle at one flat spot, almost like if this was a circle sitting on a flat spot. So that's where you draw it over here, or that's where it connects, and then that line is also going to go through our center of grip here. Right here, tangent, and then through that intersection. So let me pull it up here so I can get the prosec lined up. I'll draw the line, and you'll see what it looks like. Now this is the midline. Center of grip here, this is our midline. And if we measure this, you're going to see, you can double check everything. That's our center of grip, we'll put the 0 there. We're going to measure 5.5 over here. I'll even draw it out for you. And that's 5.5. And then center of the prosect on the spine in the rear. Draw your vertical axis line. Now you'll see this is our center of grip, 5.5 inches over, 1.5 inches up, and this is all going to measure back to our axis point, which we already know because of these arcs is 2 inches away from the pin, 6 inches away from the mass bias, and then over here, 5 inches away from the pin is our center of grip distance. Now, using the midline, we're going to line up the prosect at 0 on the spine, in the rear, and we're going to draw. Now this is our center line. So when we come back here, you're going to see center line, midline, pin, mass bias. 5.5 over, 1.5 inch up. This is our positive access point here. Once you have the center line, you can draw your bridge. I use a 3/8 bridge. Gives you a little bit more room for your pitches, especially for two-handers who need to try and move their track. If you're a high tracker, low tilt bowler. And remember, for two-handers, no thumbers, you drill on the midline. But that'll be the bridge. These will be the 2 fingers right here. And again, you can double check everything. Center of grip to the pin is the 5 inches. Pin to the access point, 2 inches. And then from your access point to the PSA or mass bias, 6 inches. That gives you a layout of 2 inches by 6 by 5.